No cold open this month, just right into the action, okay? Let's get into it. April 2022, I saw some movies.
April 2022.
I saw quite a few long movies this month. Quite a few that almost went into the 3-hour range, which is usually a situation where, me personally, I have to like kind of plan my day around that movie, because like 3 hours, that's like a sixth of your day that film is just kind of taken up. But whatever, let's just talk about it. Let's just get into it. First Love. This film is from acclaimed Japanese, or at least one of the busiest directors, Takashi Miike, who has had a wide variety of just different films that both vary in genre and also quality as well. This film has a mixture of crime, comedy, it's also very silly. This film almost feels like a Coen Brothers film in that it's a continuous onslaught of human errors that just snowballs and snowballs continuously, and it's very entertaining to watch. Lots and lots of fun. About a Boy. I just thought this was okay. The chemistry between Hugh Grant and a young Nicholas Hoult is very charming, but the overall film I thought was a little vanilla for me. I thought it was really fun to see Toni Collette in a film in an accent other than just an American one, which she seems to always be in almost every movie that I've seen her in. Other than that, this film was actually kind of forgettable for me. A Bittersweet Life. Directed by Kim Ji-woon, a Korean film. Also a very versatile director who has directed a lot of different films in different genres. The Foul King, I Saw the Devil, and A Quiet Family are films of his that I can easily recommend for anybody who wants to get into Korean cinema. For A Bittersweet Life, I thought the action choreography and the cinematography supporting it were all executed really well. Lee Byung-hun is great as the lead. I just thought the actual screenplay wasn't really memorable, given that it spends 50% of its runtime building up conflict, building up these character motivations, and then finally in the second part of the film becoming this cold-blooded revenge thriller. It almost feels like watching a John Woo film without the melodrama. I just kind of feel like there was a little bit of an imbalance between these two parts of the film, especially when it's segmented structurally. I certainly enjoyed the second half than I did the first, but I think from Kim Ji-woon, it's still definitely worth a watch. East of Eden. This was my first James Dean film that I really sat down and watched from front to back. And I really enjoyed it. I think James Dean is definitely the strongest part of this film. He certainly carries the film with his performance. I'm not sure if it's just because the film is old, it came out in 1955, whether or not it was the intent of the filmmakers or not to take a very neutral stance to Dean's character and his actions in the film, I think has aged the film quite nicely actually. Still, East of Eden skims over some plot points and isn't really able to answer or resolve certain relationships or fates of characters. I think part of it is because it was adapted from a book. I'm sure some of the criticisms that I have are probably covered or would be covered if I read the book. But as for the film, I wouldn't have minded if it was just a couple minutes longer just to really flesh out those parts of the film more. There's this one shot in the film that really stands out to me and I think is really spectacular. It's towards the end of the film and it's James Dean crouched on a swing and he's moving in and out of the light and the camera just tilts as he comes into the foreground. It's so menacing. I love it. And I almost want to say I love that shot more than the actual movie. Happy Together. Wong Kar-wai movies always hit a little bit different. That might just be me. To me, his films always pull me in through the vibe and the atmosphere rather than anything specific in the plot. The acting from Tony Leung and Leslie Cheung are really great. Convincingly, these guys are able to showcase the beauty and also the pain of the relationship between these two guys in this foreign land that they are essentially stuck together in. The cinematography from Christopher Doyle, once again, is very strong, as it is in all of his collaborations with Wong Kar-wai. And again, just going back to the narrative, it doesn't really progress in a conventional way. Pockets of time rather than a natural progression was a really interesting choice. Again, I think one of the strongest elements of this film is the vibe, the atmosphere. There's a very distinct energy when it comes to Wong Kar-wai films that, at least his earlier works, that I don't think you can find in other new wave Hong Kong directors. I guess the loose storytelling style kind of makes sense because there's a documentary about this film that you can like find online. Wong Kar-wai went to Buenos Aires without fully writing a script. I don't know how you can get away with that today, but like there's this whole subplot with a nurse that is not in the theatrical cut at all that they shot. And yeah, I just thought that was wild, and it makes sense why the film is very loose in its storytelling style, but also to have context of the actual film production, it's wild to me. Wong Kar-wai, you're a madman. Who gets away with just like improvising their way, like feeling their way out of a huge project like this? Kanye West, Until the Wheels Fall Off. Look, okay, hey, I don't skate, but I think growing up in the early 2000s, the impact of skate culture was undeniable. Whether it was MTV or movies or film or like watching music videos. This is all around a really great documentary, really solid doc. While Tony's upbringing isn't the most interesting and the filmmaker's not really coming in with any Michael Jordan Last Dance, never before seen footage, Until the Wheels Fall Off is thankfully held together by just a really strong cast of interviewees, mentors, friends, rivals. Particular standouts to me include Rodney Mullen and Dwayne Peters. Yeah, if you like Pro Skater or you like Tony Hawk or you like skateboarding, it's a really good documentary and I highly recommend it. The Kingsman. So the action is still pretty great in this entry, as it is in all the Kingsman films, but my particular criticism is with the pacing here. It's largely a lot of exposition and talking in the first half, and much of the action just unloading in the second half. The film is played pretty straight, even though there are outrageous caricatures of historical figures. The film insists on taking itself quite seriously, and I think a part of that is the World War I backdrop and wanting to pay respect to that, but when you juxtapose that with a ballerina fight sequence starring Rasputin, I think just the biggest problem with this film is its uncommitted tone that is not really consistent at all throughout the film. Come on now. Jamo Hansu deserves better films. House of Gucci. Too long. Doesn't have to be 2 hours and 37 minutes. I think part of that was trying to balance the dysfunction of the Gucci family along with the historical milestones in the actual fashion brand, but too long. When the film was focused on the human drama, it was more interesting to me in as much that the development of the business side gives context to all of that and why characters are saying or doing what they're doing. I think those sections could have been edited down just a little bit. Like, yeah, InvestCorp and Tom Ford's hiring are important business milestones for the brand, but I just want to see more Lady Gaga sucking on an espresso spoon. I just want to see more Jared Leto going sicko mode with the Italian accent. He really goes for it, dials it up to 11. As dialed up as the performances are with the wacky Italian accents, I thought Adam Driver, Jared Leto, and even Lady Gaga were all really great. Specifically, Lady Gaga. I think this film is such a great showcase for her just ability as an actress and to really lead a film. Nightmare Alley. Again, very long, but it's a good capitalism never changes type story. Bradley Cooper is actually really fantastic in this film. He channels this kind of old-timey Clark Gable type speech mannerism that is really fun to watch. Ultimately, I think the technical aspects supersede the actual story of the film. I just feel like the idea of one man's rags to riches story and the events that follow after that is a story that is not wholly unique. There's a lot of great films that follow that template. I think the greatest strength in all Guillermo del Toro films is always the production design, the practicality and the tangibility of the worlds that he's able to bring to screen. To see that strength more grounded in Nightmare Alley was really cool to see. American Girl. This is an exceptional debut from Fiona Wren, a autobiographical film, I believe. I really enjoyed the quieter moments in this film when it was up close on characters' faces and just letting the moments in between dialogue just simmer a little bit. For a film centered around a young Taiwanese American girl, I actually found this film quite easy to relate to. Something about being in your teens, being angsty, wanting to like ride a horse and not knowing why is something I can deeply relate to. Caitlin Fang is great in this film as the titular American girl. It's one thing to get a really great performance out of a younger actor. I think to be able to balance that, because she's speaking English and Mandarin as well, and just have the performance be consistent all the way through is really great. She really shines in this film. The Batman. I honestly don't have a lot to say about this film. I really enjoyed it. Very dark, very noir. Probably the darkest Batman. Literally, the lighting is just, there's like a lot of shadows. I really enjoyed that the film really just focused in on Robert Pattinson, Bruce Wayne in this case, just really actually being Batman. You see a lot more Batman than Bruce Wayne in this film. Does the film need to be 3 hours? Yeah, kind of. The film is a little indulgent in the sense that it is more of a noir, detective-focused way of telling a Batman story, but also there are set pieces as well. There are huge moments of action and moments of superhero excitement that you would see in a summer blockbuster or a Marvel film. To have that all in there cohesively and to not make it feel disjointed, to have the movie be 3 hours, I think it worked. I had a great time watching this movie and excited to see the sequel because they confirmed that. We are getting another one. Mr. Freeze, where you at? Okay, that is April 2022. Once again, we are late getting this video out. So I could say see you next month, but it's already May. See you at the end of the month. I guess. So you can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Letterboxd if you want a sneak preview of the films I'm going to be talking about in the next watch list video. But I thank you for watching and I hope you enjoy your life. Okay, bye.